Pittsburgh Steelers fans, what is up? Welcome back to another episode of The Hangover. I'm your host, Daniel, alongside with me, as always, Shannon. Shannon, how you doing after this long weekend or long couple of days there since the Steelers last played?
I'm cold.
Is it
We
cold
got
out
we
there?
got a little bit of snow, like an inch. Just it's pretty. It really didn't affect the traveling much, but it's pretty to see on the trees and everything. But I'm just not a winter person, and I'd wear shorts year round if I could. So I don't like wintertime very much.
I hear you. Well, out here it's not that bad. It's like in 50s, 60s. So it's probably shorts weather for you.
I would be in shorts, yes.
So it's nice out here. So the winter time is not too bad out here in Texas. Unfortunately, as far as being too bad, the Pittsburgh Steelers drop another one to a bad team, a 2-10 team, another one for the second consecutive game, twice in 5 days. You know,
That's a record.
that is a record.
Yeah.
First time ever. That's insane. So, we're going into, last week thinking maybe there's a chance that the Steelers could be, half a game out of first place in the AFC North. To now, we're barely hanging on.
Mm.
Given the performance that we just saw, do you have any confidence in this team moving forward?
No. We've talked about it a lot this year that they just didn't pass the eye test. Statistically, this is a team that ranks near the bottom in everything, and besides record, and they were very opportunistic, and they protected the football. They didn't get a lot of turnovers, and they were able to win games at the end. But we questioned all along, is that sustainable? So, but the last 2 weeks we've seen the things that I look back since 2019. I've been writing articles and doing podcasts about cracks in the foundation, things that worried us, experienced Steeler fans, things we've seen that were going on and happening that needed to be addressed, and it kept getting swept under the rug. And I think now it's kind of come to a head, and the result was a new record, the first team with a winning record to lose to back-to-back opponents at least 8 games under 500. And what's even worse is they lost both games at home.
Yeah. Yeah, that was embarrassing to say the least. Watching that game, I was very frustrated. I thought that maybe perhaps, the quarterback play would be the same. I wasn't expecting that much of a step back.
Mm-hmm.
When it came to Mitch Trubisky, I thought, you'd have somebody who's at least a veteran who's had some starts underneath his belt. And, it just didn't seem like he was confident at all. His throwing mechanics, I've never liked them, but they seem to be on display with his, throwing off his back foot every single time he threw the ball.
Every time.
And yeah, and I just, I questioned how he saw the field as well. It's just, to me, I don't think he's a starter capable quarterback. But did you hear Coach Tomlin's comments on Mitch Trubisky's play during his press conference?
Yeah, it's more coach speak. I mean, you don't want to throw your player under the bus, and I understand that. But nobody who watched that game could honestly say that he looked like an NFL quarterback. Now, no quarterbacks look like an NFL quarterback for the Steelers this year, in all honesty. And it's more than just one problem. It's more than just that individual. But he, as you said, he was throwing off platform, and off balance constantly. And he got away with a couple. He got one picked off. Another one, there was a penalty. But you just didn't have any confidence that he would be able to complete the comeback when they got behind like they did. So I think that he'll be on a shorter leash this week. I mean, I know what Tomlin said, but I think in reality, if he's not generating any offense in the first half, it wouldn't shock me for them to turn to Rudolph and at least give him a shot to see if he can spark something.
100%. Now, for those that hadn't heard what he said, it was something to the effect that He felt that Mitch Trubisky got better as the game went on, and that with a full week of preparation, that he would be even better. And that's emphasizing or making note that he was at least good at one point during the game, but he would be better this upcoming game. You know, the media kept asking him questions like, is Mason Rudolph going to, get any first team reps? Did you consider Mason Rudolph, to start it during the game? I think that was during his post game. And I think there's a lot of pressure coming on the, for the quarterback position. Do you think that, well, you said it, you said there's going to be a short leash. How long of that leash do you think it is? Is it one interception, one quarter, one half? When do you think Coach T pulls that plug?
I think it's going to come down to kind of rhythm. Is the offense, sustaining drives? Are they moving the football? They've struggled all year in the red zone, but if they're moving the ball and getting field goal attempts and they feel like that they're starting to find a rhythm, then I think he's fine. But like in that first half against the Patriots, there was no rhythm. It was like even the touchdown pass, the Patriots, because they're so aggressive, but they usually have protection over the top. But on this particular blitz, they let Pickett roll out a little bit, buy a little extra time, and then Johnson beat his guy one-on-one. And after that happened, and Pickett he put a good ball in there for the touchdown. After that happened, Belichick didn't even try that anymore. He made sure that he wasn't going to give Pickens or Johnson that one-on-one outside with no over-the-top protection. So Belichick got burned once. He learned from it. But other than that, Trubisky never established anything, and you never felt like he was in rhythm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll say this: his receivers really weren't giving him much help either.
No.
Deontay Johnson, I thought played. I know he got the touchdown pass, but he was being covered one-on-one in certain situations with the middle linebacker, Jawan. Can't remember his last name, but he's known as being a Vince Williams type of middle linebacker, and he covered him.
Yeah.
And so, I was just like, wow, this is insane. I mean, he was running with him step for step. I don't know if maybe perhaps the hamstring is still affecting him. I know that the routes aren't that great either, watching the film back and watching Deontay Johnson. I think that has to do with the scheme aspect of it. But when there was routes where he had to do a double move and he ended up coming open, the quarterback was under pressure. How do you think that the offensive line did in this game for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I think they did a little better than the week prior. You can't run on New England.
Right.
New England, I think, is third in the league, maybe second now in the run defense. And they bottled that running game up for the Steelers. It was really predictable. A lot of outside pitch runs, and they were waiting on Harris and Warren. And both guys give really good efforts to pick up some positive yardage. They did their part, but the blocking was not very good. Pass protection, Belichick, they don't really have a dominant pass rusher. So he sends a lot of stunts and a lot of twists, and he has guys at the line, and then they back off, and he disguises everything really well. So, it could have been worse. They didn't have a ton of breakdowns. But, it was again, that's been their big weakness on offensive line this year is pass blocking. And none of the quarterbacks feel very comfortable.
Yeah, no, I you can definitely see that during the game on the film back at it. You can tell that the quarterbacks are uncomfortable. They're questioning their decision. It's not good. The offensive line, in my opinion, they didn't have much rushing, but that was expected, especially coming from the New England defense, as you mentioned. I was hoping for a little bit more out of this team. It felt like they were, moving the ball every now and then. There was a little spurts here and there, and then they would get into a situation like, for instance, after the interception where they're, in the red zone, it's fourth down, they go for it, kind of a weird play, and instead of getting points on the board when you have a team that is challenged when they're, as far as getting points on the board. What did you think about the coaching in this game offensively? And we're going to talk about the defense in a little bit. I know there's a lot of comments there about the defense, but what do you think about the coaching offensively?
I think it's a little bit more of the same. I don't want to. I give a lot of credit to uh, Sullivan and Faulkner after the Bengals game because they went and called a lot of the plays that they had not been utilizing.
Yeah.
Especially middle of the field play action and such. It hasn't really been there the last couple of games. It was starting to develop right before Pickett got hurt. Pickett got hurt against the Cardinals. And then that all kind of, it's sporadic. Trubisky had a couple of balls in the middle of the field. But that's really their strength right now with their tight end situation and the way teams are playing. They're the only two quality wideouts they have. The middle of the field should be worked much more. And then in the Buffalo game against the Chiefs, I don't know if you see, but they had White come out of the backfield, and they cleared the zone middle of the field with the tight end, and White ran right up the seam, and Allen hit him for a touchdown. And, it's not that hard, guys. It's you clear it and then you replace, that guy once you clear that part of the field, and that's there for the Steelers. Harris or Warren, either one. But the Steelers just don't do it. This weekend, that's all we had to do was watch other teams. And you just see things that you're like, wow. I haven't seen that all year. And so I think that the play calling is partly scheme because they're still using they have no choice but to use Canada's playbook. But, like the article we had on our site today is, there is some talent deficiencies across the Steelers offense. And, the coaches can only do so much if the talent isn't there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. When it comes to the coaching more specifically, what about the deep passes that were chosen on 3rd and short and 4th and short at the end of the game? Mike Tomlin, he came out after the game and even in this presser saying that, they're aggressive, that, they threw a deep pass to George Pickens in one game where he caught it. And, everybody loved that decision. But when it doesn't work, it's all, result oriented, basically, is what the, how everybody perceives the play call. I don't know about that. All you got to do is get in position and kick a field goal to get into at least tie the game. It's not like, you have time left. That's the game on the line right there. I think maybe you try that on 3rd down and it doesn't work. You go to something a little bit more traditional on 4th down. But what are your thoughts on those two play calls?
Yeah, when it was 3rd and 2, I looked at my wife and I'm like, against this defense, the best thing they could do is run it twice. I don't care if it's a quarterback sneak twice. But pick up this 1st down, and then, you have a new set of downs to be attacked downfield. Like on the 4th down throw to Johnson, he really wasn't open. It was good coverage, and it was a little bit of a desperation heave. And I remember Ben doing that in this same offense at his last, everything's covered because they don't do a good job of scheming guys into openings. They don't, when they try to give them freedom to freelance, they're not on the same page with the quarterback at all. If it's a multiple option route. Mm-hmm. And on these really critical 4th downs, they don't have that option. So they're covered right off the line. And every time the quarterback looks like, okay, there's one-on-one on the outside, I'm going to try to hit a big play. Ben tried it. Pickett's tried it. Now Trubisky's tried it. And the chances of it being successful are slim. So I would have rather on 3rd down seen them try to run the ball. They got Harris. They got Warren. They run block better than they pass block. I'd like to see them try to pick up the 1st down and then be more aggressive. So, no, I was not a fan of either of those last two pass plays.
Yeah, neither was I. I know that there's a question there if that was the intended throw. Mike Tomlin says it was. He may be covering up for his
I
quarterback
think he
as
is, yeah.
yeah, because he hasn't criticized whether it's Kenny Pickett or Mitch Trubisky, the quarterback, at all. And so, because on the under route, there was one where Deontay Johnson was wide open, and then even on the other side, it's a little bit more challenging of a throw, per se, on the fourth down. But Allen Robinson did kind of come open over the middle, but you got to hit him quickly, and you have to kind of throw it towards the back of his shoulder and not lead him into, the defensive back that was coming across. But there was some plays to be made there, and it just I don't know. I was very disappointed, with the quarterback play, with the offense, the whole 9 yards. I mean, you're going up against a 2-10 team. I get it. They had a couple of games here in the past couple of days or a couple of weeks, I'm sorry, where they held some pretty bad, NFL offenses to little points. But, they gave up a lot to a couple of other teams. I think Miami was one of them that put up a lot. So, at the end of the day, I just felt that it was below the bar. Now, Coach T comes out and says that he has no anticipation of playing Mason Rudolph, but he did also say that the only reason was because he hadn't had any time with the ones or any time because he's a third string quarterback. Now this week he's going to get some of that time. I think you're right. I think there's going to be a short leash on Mitch Trubisky. We might see a Mason Rudolph sighting, so to speak. Do you think that the offense would be better?
Well, we talked a little last week. Like that throw on the 4th and 2 to Deontay Johnson. Rudolph throws a much better deep ball than Trubisky.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote that I wanted to see Rudolph get a chance because the strengths of this offense right now, besides the running game, is the deep ball to Pickens when he can get one-on-one coverage. And you need to give him a ball that even if it's contested, he has a shot to catch it. A lot of Mitch's balls, and even Kenny's balls, a lot of times, you have no shot at catching it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Rudolph will drop it in. He puts it down in the bucket, so to speak. Rudolph is better at play action. And he can work the middle better, in my opinion, without throwing clusters of interceptions like Trubisky. When you throw across the middle, it's got to be on time. It cannot be late, and it can't be high. And Trubisky does a little bit of both of those. So that's why I wanted to see Rudolph get a chance. Because if teams, they give Pickens a few opportunities, one-on-one on the outside, and if it's one-on-one, you have to give him an opportunity to catch it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I understand that. When you have, but for me, I think that if you have Pickens on the outside and one-on-one, and the entire game, you haven't seen much separation from Deontay Johnson. He hasn't been getting that, and he wasn't running away from anybody on his go routes. If so that's going to have to be a contested throw. Why not throw to the receiver that can make a contested catch?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it has to be Pickens. Don't throw that ball up to DJ.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't like the decision. I don't like any part of that play. I thought it was horrible. But yeah, but speaking about George, Coach T had to talk to him on the sideline again. You think this guy? Do you think that he lasts the full season before he's even benched?
I don't think they're going to bench him because they don't have nobody else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Robertson is no longer. He's maybe a 4. They're using him as a 3, but he just doesn't get any separation. Honestly, as you was talking earlier, Johnson hasn't been getting good separation since he come back, and Pickens has never been able to separate. Pickens is a contested catch guy. Mm-hmm. He's basically a more talented version of James Washington, mm-hmm. and that he's not going to get separation, but he will go get the ball. But the Steelers don't have anybody else. I mean, Boykins was in for 8 snaps, 7 runs. And they didn't throw to him on the other. I'm just saying that when you see Boykins in the game, it's a running play.
Mm-hmm.
And Calvin Austin is more right now, they're using him as a gadget guy, not, as a an actual legit wide receiver very often. So, but Tomlin had to talk to Pickens twice. And he said that the main problem he has with Pickens and his passion and his temperament on the sidelines is that it isn't solution based. It's not rational. To me, I call it pouting and whining till you get what you want. Therefore, I would like to see, because they have no other option right now, try to get the ball to him early and often, because it keeps him mentally focused and in the game. If he doesn't get anything for a while, any action, he's over in the end zone pouting and throwing his hands up and doing all this stuff because he loses focus. And then when you do throw him the ball, he's not prepared. Like it was, I think against Cardinals, he stopped on a route where he was going to get the ball. But because he thought he wasn't. We've seen how he does it, he either crushes the guy when he blocks him, or he just, like, you can tell he sells it. He don't try to sell a pass play if it's a running play. He just comes off the line, patty cake. That he wasn't like that last year, but we're seeing bad habits this year. So can they corral him? Can they get him under control and get him focused and help him mature? Because if not, they need to move him.
Yeah. I think also some of that might also be because, I think he's losing confidence in the team. Last year he was confident. He was making some crazy catches when the ball was going to him. I think he understood that he wasn't getting the throws, all the throws to him because of his, being a rookie. But there was no excuse now, and he's not getting the targets and like you said, he's just kind of. It's almost like his heart is out of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a little bit concerning, but I think that he's also a guy that when the Steelers, have started to kind of get in the right direction, I guess, when you look at the Cincinnati game, he was out there excited and stuff like that. So I'm not saying that they get rid of him necessarily, but I think that if he continues and if the Steelers end up, losing a game or the next couple of games and they're out of playoff, potential, I can see that being a possibility of him being put on the bench if he's going to continue the antics on the field. You know what I mean? But go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I talked about it a little on the Q&A last night. The truth is, when you were talking about Pickens, he's immensely talented. If you can, help him mature as a professional athlete, but maybe Pittsburgh's not the right spot. It's definitely not the right offense right now. So that's somewhere that Khan could look at, like a Puka and Nachua.
Yeah.
I think, from the Rams. I mean, that young man's a rookie. He's a much lower draft pick than Pickens. They've already got Cooper Kupp. They don't have anybody explosive like Pickens. They might be interested. And, you could try to work a trade and get a player that might be a better fit for each offense. There is options to be had. And I just, the way things are set up right now, I just don't know if Pittsburgh is the right place for Pickens.
Do you think that both Deontay and Pickens are on the team start of the season 2024? You think one of them is dealt off this offseason?
I fully expect Dante Johnson to be traded. Rumors, people, contacts that know the locker room, there's been a lot of issues with coaches and fellow teammates. And, the things I've said about him for years has come to a head. He has limitations, and he needs an offense that throws a lot and that can get him. Like, I can see him with the Chiefs tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mahomes would utilize him. They have the scheme. It would help take a lot off of Kelsey, because they need these kind of guys. The Chiefs do right now. Their receiver corps is not very good.
I don't know if Mahomes wants another receiver with questionable hands.
Well, I mean, yeah, they've already got that problem, but this year, Johnson's main thing, as I've said before, is he struggles to catch balls above his sight line. If
Mhm.
it's coming right at him, but it's over his helmet, they go through his hands. He really struggles with that, and a lot of his drops have been in those situations. Um, Maybe with a quarterback like Mahomes, a more accurate quarterback, the balls that his Mahomes' receivers have been dropping, most of them have been great throws, and those guys are just dropping them.
Yeah.
So I would like to see him with a team like the Chiefs, and it can benefit everybody involved.
Yeah. Yeah, there's going to be some questions to be made or some decisions to be made then, obviously, but we still got a few games to go. Uh, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to talk about the defensive side. I want to get your thoughts on TJ Watt and the conspiracy that's going on there. Don't go anywhere on the YouTube side. We're not going anywhere on audio only. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the Hangover. I'm Daniel. Alongside with me is Shannon. We're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, and are they in a win or no win situation? And we're going to talk about the defense and how they performed in this last game against the New England Patriots. But before we do that, Shannon, you briefly touched on a couple of articles or an article that you had written. Let us know exactly what it is that you've got going on right now and when we can expect it to be out.
Well, working on the Steelers stock report, um, which is always out on Tuesdays at 11, and so I'm about halfway through that, and it's been a tough one. I touch a good bit on this George Pickens situation, um, trying to uh, be honest and fair to all parties involved because everybody's frustrated. There's nobody on that offense, probably on the defense either, because they're not getting supported. There's nobody that's not frustrated with what's going on, and it's more than one person's fault. So, um, trying to really, because there's more negative to focus on than there is positive. I'm mainly focusing on the stock ups and guys that, regardless, have something the Steelers can build on going into next season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not ready to give up on this year, but the way things are setting, if they make the playoffs or not, um, I just don't see where they're going to benefit from it like they normally would because there's going to be such turnover. I think the Steelers have like 18 guys that were 1 year rentals,
Mm-hmm.
and there's only like 3 of them that's probably going to come back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a massive turnover after this season, and then there's always some surprises. So normally, I think you make the playoffs, you get that experience and that camaraderie, and it excites you for the next year, even if you know you're going to lose. But this year, I just don't think they're going to get that benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So the rest of the year, guys are just playing for their positions. So that's mainly what the article's focusing on. And then, of course, Wednesday we'll have our Pump Your Brakes podcast with Tate and Big G and at 8:30. So don't miss that.
You make a valid point on the overhaul that's going to be going on, or maybe not so much overhaul, but a lot of the pieces that are going on. But there's a lot of changes going on with the coaching staff this offseason as well.
Big time.
Gone is Matt Canada already, so an offensive coordinator is going to have to come in here. Let's just really hope they're not moving somebody within, to go up. Let's bring somebody else in. And then there's rumors there of Terrell Austin, going to Syracuse or to another college team. So another defensive coordinator might be needed. If you're going to stick with Tomlin, I think you have to extend him, don't you think? Just because he's going to have to build a whole new coaching staff and and start all over. We really still kind of, I guess some folks, the decision's out or the jury's out on Kenny Pickett still. So, but I know some folks want to see him with a different offensive coordinator. So let's just say that's the case. Don't you think you'd have to extend Tomlin because next year's his last year, and if you're bringing in somebody else, they're probably going to want to bring their own staff as well. So I don't think it's a smart decision to do one overhaul one year and then again the next year. What are your thoughts on that?
The Stewards are not in a good situation. This year was about development. It was about learning what you had in your player, especially Kenny Pickett. Nothing's really been accomplished. Nothing, no answers. Uh, Tomlin did not do an extension. I think he wanted to see also what was going to happen this year. Uh, and now, it's obvious that there needs to be massive changes to the coaching staff. Does Tomlin, will he sign up for that? Does he want to do that? That's going to be the question. They're not trading Mike Tomlin. They're not firing Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin has earned that respect that if he wants to sign up for this and, and a whole new coaching staff pretty much and a new offensive coordinator, probably a new quarterback because the new offensive coordinator is going to want to, you're starting over either way. I mean, if you go with Pickett or you go with a rookie or you bring in they're still going to have to learn this new offense. So there's the Pickett situation is really not that important. The coaching is. The offensive coordinator is. I don't know if Tomlin will sign back to an extension. He might just, at this point in his career, with what he's accomplished, he might want to take a break, step away. I think he loves it. I think he loves the especially the draft process and the valuations and going to campuses. And I think he loves that more than he does even the coaching part. And he might step away for a little while. And then I'm sure he'd probably come back when he gets the right opportunity. Which I always thought Cowher would, but Cowher, he went into TV. I don't know if Tomlin will like that. He's got the speaking ability. He's really good at coach speak. I don't know if he'd want to be critical of other coaches, which you'd have to be if you go into the media. But long story short, I think that the Rooneys and ownership are going to have to sit down and have a real heart-to-heart, frank discussion with Tomlin after the season to see if he's interested in coming back, even with all these changes that are on the horizon.
Right. If he's a guy that wants to take it year by year and, kind of like what Kevin Colbert did in the end of his career. And, the Steelers are going into a new direction with an offensive coordinator. Do you think that decision is going to lie with Coach Tomlin, being that he's probably going to be gone in the next year? Or is that decision going to lie with Art Rooney and kind of just like, hey, this guy's probably going to take your place when you decide to go?
Yeah, I think that if, let's say that they decide that Tomlin's going to play out his contract, which he has next year on the contract. I don't think that Tomlin will be the main voice in the room with who they decide is offensive coordinator. I think it'll be Kahn and Waddle, and I can't remember who's over the scouting department, and of course ownership, mainly Art. If Tomlin says I'm going to do a 3-year extension, let's say, then I believe he will have a bigger voice in the room. But because in all truthfulness, as you say, whoever is the offensive coordinator, if he is a up and comer or somebody in high demand, the only way the Steelers are going to get him is to say when Tomlin steps away, as you say, you will be the head coach.
Yeah,
and so I can see that scenario playing out.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's possibly what could happen. And I was. And Afton brings it up. She says that it seems like Tomlin at a certain point maybe is already, kind of done. And I've seen it too. Some of the media guys have said it too, that he, after one of the losses, I want to say it was the Arizona game, that he didn't seem like he was that upset. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And after the other game, this is what we are, this is who we do, or whatever he said. That seemed more like a Tomlin after a loss. But the first one, it just kind of seemed like whatever. And I was kind of getting that sense too, where maybe perhaps he knows that the end is coming soon.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you're talking about a superstar player or a Hall of Fame coach, you eventually get to the point that it's like watching the Steelers this year. It's not fun.
Mm-hmm.
It really hasn't been fun to watch them in a few years. And I can imagine what it's like trying to coach them. And I think that, winning and seeing your your guys getting better and growing, and that's exciting. And that's what motivates a guy like Tomlin. He wants to produce good men, not just good players.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you have the guys with the attitudes that he's been getting, and I believe that a lot of it, the reason they got him was because they fell in the draft because of some attitude problems. That has to be frustrating and demoralizing for a guy who cares about the players as much as a person as he does as what they give him on the field. So I just think that Tomlin, Ryan Clark, he's talked about it in multiple episodes on TV or on podcasts. He says, he knew Tomlin in the beginning. And he says Tomlin's not the same Tomlin. And he's kind of defeated. You see it on his face. And the other night, he WTF. He looked at one of the other guys. He's like, WTF, what was that? I mean, I think that there's a little bit of a disconnect right now. And we're seeing it, and that he's experiencing it. So, I agree with Ryan Clark. I think that this season is going to make him re-examine everything.
Yeah, no, I agree as well. And we still got 4 games. The next challenge is going to be the Indianapolis Colts. But before we go on to that, TJ Watt concussion protocol was seen with a visor in the second half of the game. Coach Tomlin was asked about that. He said that he wasn't aware that the visor got darker. I think he thought that Watt went into the game with a visor. At least that's what he's alluding to. Not bad, optically. I think after the game as well, he was supposed to go talk to the media. He didn't. He's been rumored that he had migraines, and that's the reason why he didn't talk to the media. Do you think this is going to come down on the Steelers for any reason?
Well, I mean, he went in the blue tent. He was examined by the neurologist. But as you say, then why do you go to a dark visor in a night game?
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, what? What's going on? And I thought that's very strange. And then Jeff Hartman said in the post-game podcast that could be because sensitivity to light, and he could be concussed. But the way the NFL is set up now, they are very strict that if he didn't pass that the first initial test on the sidelines, he has to come out. Because you say you can be severely fined. A lot of, lose draft picks. It can be very, very serious.
Yeah.
So, because you've seen Alex Highsmith, he come out after getting his bell rung and his neck rung too, I think. And he was done. That he was immediately out. Did Watt maybe talk to the equipment guy and said, "Hey, put this on," and he might have not told everything.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that any of the Steelers personnel would have allowed him to go back out there if they thought he was concussed, just because of the magnitude of the punishment and the suspension and everything else. So I don't believe Tomlin was aware of it at all. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Tomlin has made some decisions for his players. Ryan Clark is one of them. When the Steelers were going to go play in Denver, didn't allow him to play, things like that. So I don't see Tomlin being that kind of guy where he's going to choose a football game over the health of one of his players. So I don't think that was the issue. I think that there needs to be some sort of investigation done on the NFL side, not on the Steelers side. On the NFL side, those guys that cleared him, why did they clear him? And if he was, having some other symptoms and had on a visor, why wasn't he reevaluated? You know what I mean? I think those are the things that need to be probably, questioned, but I don't think that it was a Pittsburgh Steelers issue.
I heard during the game, but I don't know, this is just in the broadcast, that he was they looked at him twice.
Yeah.
Because as you said, he got the knee to the face mask and the chin, and
Yeah.
then he went to tackle Elliott again, and as his foot came up, it caught him underneath so he got dinged twice in a short period of time. And one of our audience or community members mentioned the smelling salts.
Yeah.
And and sometimes smelling salts, it looked like they was trying to clear his head, and that's not a good look from a guy who just put on a dark visor. That and he was so I know the optics does not look good.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. I mean, he had a blank stare to him too while he was sniffing the smelling salts.
Yes, he did. Yeah,
it looked really, really bad. The game is a day early, but the Steelers played on Thursday. You think he's going to play this weekend?
I mean, my thing is what for?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I cannot see this team keeping up with there's 6, 7, and 6 teams, and they're all going in a better direction than the Steelers are right now. And what is so valuable, and I never want to put a one game over a guy's long-term health, and concussions that quick and coming back, and he took a real blow. I mean, it wasn't just one of them. You like, when did it happen? We know when it happened. You've seen it.
Yeah,
and so that concerns me. I think, to me, the Highsmith wasn't as obvious. I think if Highsmith can play, and you got Herbie, and Golden, I might sit just to be on the safe side. Because this season is slipping away quickly, and it ain't worth risking his long-term future.
Yeah, I agree with you. If it's something that he's not completely, I mean, he'd have to be completely cleared to come out. But if he's not cleared until like the day of or the day before, it's like a close thing, I would probably sit him out as well, just because of the long-term aspect of it. And he's it's going to hinder the game, but his health is more important in my opinion.
Yep.
But speaking about the defense against the New England Patriots, first half it looked like Brady and Gronk out there.
Yeah, it did.
It was horrible. Ezekiel Elliott and Juju Smith-Schuster looked like they were playing in 2018.
Yeah.
What do you think about this defense? I mean, Watt was in there. He's probably concussed throughout that entire time, so he probably wasn't playing like himself. They kind of put a lid on in the second half. Are you concerned that the first half is going to show up again in the next couple of games where they're going to give up a lot of points real early and then have to tighten it up at the end?
Well, it showed up now for multiple games.
Yeah.
Since all the middle linebackers were injured, and we was hoping that getting Fitzpatrick back would, help, cover for the loss of Holcomb and Alexander, and Landon Roberts wasn't even maybe 70%.
Yeah.
Teams, the Cardinals did it, and now the Patriots did it. They destroyed the Steelers in the middle of the field with the tight end. But we got to remember how, as you said earlier, what's Belichick done to the Steelers for years? He would destroy the 3-4 defense with the tight end in the middle of the field. It used to victimize Vince Williams, like religiously. And what else does he do? He throws the ball to the running back out of the backfield because that's always open against the 3-4 defense. It's a major weakness. And the one playoff game that they won that was actually competitive, I think it was maybe Kevin Falk had 11 catches out of the backfield.
Yeah.
There's been other games where just random no-name running backs have 7, 8 catches. Ezekiel had 7 catches, and they all moved the chains. Belichick simplified everything, and he knows how to dominate that 3-4 defense. Even without a great quarterback, he knew how. And Bailey Zappi was good enough to execute that plan. And that's what I was worried about going into the game. And you asked, do I think it's going to continue? I think teams are going to copy that. and try to really exploit the Steelers coverage, tight end coverage especially.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, the middle linebacker group is, like you mentioned, it's been pretty bad for the last couple of weeks. Miles Jack didn't find his way on the field last week. You think he makes his debut this week against the Colts?
Well, they got Martinez out there.
Hmm.
He gave him a few snaps. I mean, he didn't do anything that stood out, but that was his first action. And see, he hasn't played this year either, like Jax hasn't.
Hmm.
So, but he was at least getting practice, and so he was in kind of football shape. So that's why he got out there. They say that Miles Jack is still a week away. That's what they said last week
Yeah.
from being in condition where he could give them some reps. So, um, the young man that they brought up from the practice squad, and his name is escaping me at the moment, but he was active, but he did not get in the game. He is a very athletic, smaller middle linebacker,
Hmm.
and better in coverage. So, and he's also a really good special teams guy. So it wouldn't shock me to see him, uh, be active this week and Jax be out one more week.
And kind of looking forward to the Colts game. Uh, Biggest question is going to be: is Jonathan Taylor going to play? If
Yeah,
not, Moss behind him has done quite a bit. He's filled in quite well for
he's
him.
very good. Yes.
I think that's going to be the biggest, toughest battle there for the Pittsburgh Steelers going into this game defensively. Minshew, he's done all right, but he's not somebody that scares me. But he does have he's kind of, what is that, sneaky athletic, where he's kind of athletic, nobody really knows about it.
But
But
did
he'll
Stampy scare you?
no,
No, he
but
didn't
then
either,
again,
but everybody did. Hey, that's what I'm saying, Daniel. I wrote it in the article. The Steelers, by doing this soft zone and tackling the catch, you make guys look better than they are because they're throwing the wide open guys, and then the Steelers are going to come up and tackle.
Mhm.
Now, we see the missed tackles against the Patriots. And once that guy gets the rhythm and he gets confident, then he starts going down the field more. And that third pass he made to Hunter Henry for the touchdown, he threw a perfect ball because he just couldn't get there.
Yeah.
But he built his confidence with all the earlier shorter throws. And then, of course, as you said, he hit Juju with that deep ball, I think 39 yards. I
Yeah.
mean, Juju was covered, but he just caught the ball right through Kazee and Fitzpatrick.
Yep.
Uh, but you can't let a quarterback get in rhythm. And the
Mhm.
Steelers, because they do not have press cover capable corners other than JPJ, they have to do that soft zone, and it's biting them in the rear is what it's happening.
So, real quick before we call it a show, if the Pittsburgh Steelers win in against the Colts, what is your one reason why?
If the Steelers win,
Yeah.
um, I would have to, to me, they'll have to establish the run and have big games out of Harris and Warren.
Hmm.
I mean, because Warren can give them big plays. Both guys are up near the top of the league in runs of over 15 yards. So if they can establish that, it opens up everything in the passing game.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the defense, if they can play with a lead, and they can, make the quarterback take more chances, then I think that bodes well for the Steelers. But we don't know who's going to be playing. Is Watt and Highsmith out?
Yeah.
It's just it's hard to pick the Steelers right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think when it comes down to picking teams on who's going to win this game, my pick don't come out until Friday on the State of the Steelers
Mine's
audio
on
only
Thursday.
episode. So if you want to hear our picks, you're going to have to tune in on Thursday and Friday on the audio side only. Well, yours is on Pump Your Brakes on Wednesday night.
Yeah,
Ain't it?
Wednesday. Yeah, but if you listen to it, it'll be on Thursday. But
Yeah, on the audio side will be Thursday. So you got to tune in for our picks then. But just a little quick preview. I doubt I'm going to pick the Steelers to win this game. But last time I think I chose the Steelers to lose. they ended up winning. I think it was against the Ravens. So you never know. You never know. It could be a good thing. Um, but yeah, for me, I think that I mimic what you say there. The running game has to get going. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have to run the ball and get a lot of, eat up the time, shorten up this game, and just really control the ball that way on the ground. If they can do that, I think that the Steelers have a pretty good opportunity to win this game. It also limits the opportunities for Trubisky to throw an interception. So,
Well, and we know Minshew can get a little bit loose with the ball
yeah,
if you can put him in pressure. So, if both teams are 7-6, and they're fighting for their playoff life, so it should at least have some good intensity. I think that the Steelers at home against 2-10 teams, I blame that a lot on coaching, but it's on the players too. They come out flat. And they're not good enough to do that against anybody, obviously. But this week, they should not be in no danger of coming out flat.
exactly. There's no excuses. I think that we'll see. We'll see how it goes, though. The Steelers need to turn the ship. If they win, they're right back in the middle of everything. I mean, right now they currently are. But this game is huge for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yep.
One loss, and it's a loss to an AFC team. You're getting further back. You're losing tiebreakers here and there. So, this is playoff atmosphere. If the Pittsburgh Steelers can't get up for this game, then I don't know if they're going to get up for any more. But I want to thank everybody. I appreciate everyone that's going to do it for us. Do you have any final words there, Shannon, before we let everybody go?
No, again, just thanks everybody for tuning in, and tell your friends, and we're here every week, and we appreciate all the support, and we're all hoping. I can't help it. I want them to win every game, so I'm hoping they can win Saturday.
Yeah, I'm the same way. As much as I think that is it better overall if the Steelers aren't going to make the playoffs for them to lose for better draft position? Maybe, but it just don't feel right.
It don't feel right. Yeah,
don't feel right.
I can't do it.
Exactly. Well, I appreciate everybody. Y'all have a great night. We'll see you guys tomorrow on the Big Brosco Show. That being said, Shannon, take us out.